So I'm sat in an A-level media revision class and I just get a text from my dad saying, "A star is born, well done, thumbs up emoji." And I was like, what? And so I was like, "This is gonna get to the toilet." And I ran out and like met my dad and I was like, Are you serious? And he's like, yes, you got it. And he's like crying because he's my dad and he was very happy for me. And it's like, oh my God. And so I kind of just sat there for a minute. I was like, oh my God. And then I had no idea what to do with myself. And I was like, okay, my exam's next week, so I guess I'm going to go back in. So I went and sat and did the rest of the revision session.
Hi folks, my name is David Hill, and welcome to my brand new, shiny, sparkly celebrity podcast, Schmoozing, where I have some in-depth conversations with some of my favourite celebrity friends. Today's episode is brought to you by the very good-looking people at 12A Studios, and in the studio with me is my friend Jack Pallister. How are you, Jack?
I'm very well, David. Thank you for the very good-looking mention.
Well, absolutely. I mean,
all lies.
People can look you up on the website, Jack, and see your photograph. Judge for themselves.
Yeah, judge for yourselves, guys.
So, Jack, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I've been in the kitchen quite a lot this week, David, because I've just started ordering the HelloFresh boxes. It allows you to try brand new things you've never tried before, go a bit out of your comfort zone and make meals from scratch. And it's really easy to follow. So, yeah, I'm absolutely loving the HelloFresh boxes, and I urge anyone and everyone to have a go.
And I can say from a very personal point of view, Jack, that Lucas, the producer of the show, and, of course, my husband and I have very much enjoyed sampling some of those HelloFresh meals that you have cooked for us. And of course, I like to compliment them with a very nice G&T.
Is there anything you don't compliment with a G&T, David?
Very little, Jack, in all honesty, very little.
And today you're complimenting the show with a very special gin and tonic extravaganza over there. What have we got today?
I really think I have excelled myself, Jack, with this. This particular drink is from my friends at the Surrey Copper Distillery, and it is a measure of Copperfield London Dry Gin, and it's their Volume 1. I've poured it over ice, and I've added a double measure, Jack, of Fentimans Rose Lemonade, and I've garnished it with edible English rose petals and a couple of strawberries.
Where on earth do you get edible rose petals from, David?
I am rather pleased with myself at that. In fact, actually, for those listeners out there that are thinking exactly the same, where do you get edible rose petals from? You can get them from Maddox Farm Organics, and they've got a website, or Greens of Devon. Yes, the perfect garnish for this drink.
Are you going to name it? It sounds like it needs a name.
I've called it the classic English Rose Garden.
Oh, the Julie Andrews of gin cocktails.
Exactly.
Now, before we get on to today's episode, I just want to remind all of our wonderful listeners to rate and review and give us a subscribe. Why not?
So, tell us about today's episode, Jack.
Well, today we've got an Everybody's Talking About Jamie special. And for those of you who don't know, the upcoming film is based on the musical that's in London's West End with the same name. And on the show today, David, we've got one of its stars, the wonderful Lauren Patel.
So, today's podcast is the story of a young actress before her big break. But the break is guaranteed. I'm zooming in the studio with Everybody's Talking About Jamie, future film star Lauren Patel. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling very perky, very, very excited to be talking to you today. And
Ready to go. Yes.
I think you are officially our youngest schmoozer.
Wow, I'm very honoured. And you are my first podcast that I've ever done ever, so...
That's brilliant. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. We're your first podcast. Brilliant.
Yes, you are.
We're not going to be your last, Lauren. That's for certain. When this film comes out, we're not going to be the last podcast that you do. I'd just like to know, first of all, where in the world are you?
I'm in Bolton as of right now and have been my entire life. This is where I grew up. This is where I live.
That's so interesting because Bolton, of course, is the home to one of my favourite, if not my favourite comedian, Peter Kay. And I was just going to ask you, there's an old wives' tale that if you live in Bolton, you have definitely met or you know Peter Kay.
Yeah. he's just about all the time. Like, I feel like my dad worked with his wife and like we know him and like we saw him when we went to go see James Bond in the cinema, and my brother was like, oh my god, it's Peter Kay, and he was just trying to watch the film. So he's always about, everyone's seen him.
So you would agree then that anybody that lives in Bolton at some point in their lives they've met or interacted or seen Peter Kay?
Everyone either knows Peter Kay or knows someone who knows Peter Kay, I feel like.
Well,
yeah, it's like the 6 Degrees game where you always know someone who's connected to someone.
Well, he is a Bolton legend, and I suspect, Lauren, that at some point this year you're going to become a very famous Boltonian. Is that the correct way of saying it? I don't know.
Boltonian, yeah, I think so. That's what we say.
I'm going to first of all, I'm going to sort of dive into how you got this part in what is definitely going to be a massive movie when it comes out. And obviously the film has not been released yet. It was planned to be released, but due to this blessed pandemic, the release of the film, like so many big films, has been sort of suspended, but we're hoping that the film will be released this year, aren't we?
Keeping my fingers crossed, yeah, definitely.
So I'd like to know, first of all, how did you even hear about the film?
So basically the only reason that I heard about the film was because I was like procrastinating doing my homework. So I'm 19 now, but I was 17 when I was auditioning for the film, and I was at sixth form college and I was doing like BTEC drama, and I would like look at open audition websites and just go to any auditions in my area just to get the experience of auditioning. I was like, obviously I'm very new to the industry and I just wanted some experience. So I was like, oh, I'm never going to get any of these jobs, but I'll just go to see what it's like and to meet people. So I saw online on just one of those open audition websites saying, we are looking for a South Asian girl who's 16 who can sing. And I was like, I'm a South Asian girl who's 16 who can sing. So I like sent a little video in telling them about myself, saying, hello, I'm Lauren, I'm 17, I'm from Bolton. And then they asked me to read a like little monologue that our writer, Tom McRae, had written for the auditions. So I read that. And then I went to London and I met Max Howard, who plays Jamie, who's very lovely, and got to do like a little chemistry read with him. And then I went back to Sheffield for a third round and spent the entire day with the team and got to do the beautiful scene and got to do the spotlight scene, and it was such a lovely day. And then right at the end of the day I had my dance audition. I was like, right, okay, this isn't gonna happen because I'm not a dancer. And then I found out I got the job like a week later. Yeah, it was, and this all happened in like the space of 20 days. So it was very intense. And then it was mad.
So talk us through the experience of the full day's audition, because, and I should say to anybody that is not from our industry, because I was an actor and still am an actor myself. It's quite a process, isn't it? I mean, often you have to go for several auditions and callbacks, and from what you've just explained, the day that you did was the final callback, if you like. Explain the process of that audition, what happened, and from getting there in the morning.
It was a really, really like lovely day, and like I say, it was just a full day with the whole team. So I showed up at the dance studio where they were doing the dance rehearsals and they'd already cast some of the class, so they were starting to learn the dances in there. And I met Johnny, our director, again, and I met Max again. And they said that, it's very hard to audition and like get into a scene when you're just in an empty room with a chair. So the plan was to go to our producer, Mark Herbert's house and do basically a screen test, and they had a camera and a boom mic and everything. And so we went and did that. My dad didn't really know what it was I was auditioning for. He took me and just dropped me off or whatever. So I rang him and I was like, I'm going to the producer's house to film the scene. Do you want to come? And he was like, yes. He was so concerned. But it was all fine and very lovely. And so we had to do the beautiful scene in Mark's daughter's bedroom. We filmed that. And then we did like an improv with Mark's dogs. It was very fun. Yeah, it was great day. And I felt like I really got to know everybody. And it was kind of, I definitely throughout the whole process was like, do not get your hopes up, because this just doesn't happen. Like, this absolutely is way too big. It just does not happen. And then after that day, I was like, they can't be doing this with a lot of people. I must at least be like the last 3, the last 5. And then, yeah, so I kind of definitely got my hopes up a little bit more after that day. But it was great, because then once I got the job, I already kind of knew everybody. It wasn't as daunting. So I'd been to their houses. I got to know them during the audition process.
Do you know what's interesting for me? And I know lots and lots of very famous actors and famous, famous people in our industry. And when you talk about auditions, to most people in our business, they're pretty terrifying because, you're in a situation where you're sort of selling yourself, you're selling your skills, you're selling your talent, and it can be quite nerve-wracking. But I think what you're telling us actually, and that's probably due to the fact that, it's kind of been one of your first experiences, and also the way you approached it, is that you just went in and just thought, I'm going to have fun with this and I'm going to enjoy it. And all your language is so relaxed and positive.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely nervous, but it was just like, oh, and even now this is still my mindset in auditions, because otherwise I'd lose my mind. So it's very much like I get to be this character for half an hour, and I've prepared this and worked really hard on it, and now I get to share it with this team, and if they like me, then I can do it for more time. So I was just like, I get to be pretty passionate for the day, and that's really fun. And then now I get to be her. I got to be her for 3 months in Sheffield.
Oh, it's so good. I want to take you to the point now where you got the call to say you got the part. So what I want to understand, Lauren, and I want our listeners to understand, is where you were in the world, what you were doing, how you reacted, and then what did you do next?
So it's quite funny, to be honest. So I was still 17, so I didn't get the call. My dad got the call.
Right.
And by this point, they told us we'd know in that week, and then I hadn't heard anything all week, so it was the next week, and I was like, okay. I said to my dad, I was at college still, and I had my A-levels coming up, so I said to my dad, like, as soon as, don't wait for me to ring you. If you find out, just text me, just ring me, just let me know, because it's driving me mad and I've really got to know. So I'm sat in an A-level media revision class, and I just get a text from my dad saying, a star is born, well done, thumbs up emoji. And I was like, what? And so I was like, this is gonna get to the toilet. And I ran out and like met my dad, and I was like, are you serious? Are you serious? And he's like, yes, you got it. And he's like crying because he's my dad, and he was very happy for me. And it's like, oh my God. And so I kind of just sat there for a minute. I was like, oh my God. And then I had no idea what to do with myself. And I was like, okay, my exam's next week, so I guess I've got to go back in. So I went and sat and did the rest of the revision session. None of it went in my brain, because I was just thinking, oh my God. And then after that, I guess, like I say, because throughout the entire process, I was like, okay, this just doesn't happen to people. This is mad. This is massive. It just doesn't happen. And so I was very scared. One, I was very scared to tell people, because obviously with films, you have to sign loads of stuff. But I was very scared to tell people in case they were like, just kidding. No, sorry, we've given it to someone else. So I told like my best friend and my teachers. And apart from that, I very much was like, yeah, I'm just doing this like little thing at the weekends, and it's nothing and it's fine. So then when the trailer came out, I got a lot of messages from people being like, is this what you were doing? And I was like, yeah. So that was how I told people, I guess.
So exciting. And
yeah.
did you complete your A-levels?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was very intense because I was doing my A levels during the week, and then I was auditioning for drama schools at the same time, and then at the weekends I was going up to Sheffield and doing the dance prep and the acting prep, and then coming back on Monday and going back to college. So it was definitely, I was very tired, but I did all of that, and then like the day that I sat my last exam, I moved up to Sheffield and started prepping for the film full time. So it was really like I say, it was a whole month that my entire life kind of flipped on its head, and so it was very mad. Yeah,
I think what makes this story so wonderful and unique as well is that you get this film part, don't you, while you are auditioning for drama college. So you're not even in drama college, you haven't even done your training yet.
Yeah, and I remember going to these auditions and people being like, oh yeah, I know somebody who's in Matilda on the West End, and being like, oh my God, you're like in the industry, you like know people, that's mad. And by this point, by May 2019, I was doing my final recalls at the 2 London drama schools that had asked me for a recall, and I must have auditioned for about 6, and neither of those let me in. And so I was like, at this point, having a crisis, going, oh my God, I'm never going to be an actor. I'm so bad. And I'm going to have to take a gap year and do nothing. Or I'm going to have to decide to go to a uni that I don't want to go to. And then suddenly, I guess it just goes to show that it is so tough to get in. And if you don't get in on your first try, it's not because you're absolutely awful and you're never going to work, and it's not the only option for you. You
obviously got the part, as we've learned, and I should say as well to everybody listening that you've shot the film now, haven't you?
Yes, it's all ready to go. It's all in the can. It's all in the can.
So obviously the film is based on 2 things, isn't it? It's based on the real life story of this character, Jamie, and there's been a very famous documentary done about Jamie, and then of course that story got converted into a hit West End musical, which is still playing and will come back into the West End, playing to packed houses, I have no doubt, and the film is based on the musical. But for those of our loyal listeners that have never seen the musical or know about the story, would you be able to give us a sort of synopsis of the story and just explain what the story is about, Lauren?
Yes, so it is. Johnny, our director, very much likes to stress that it's not a coming out story in terms of Jamie New. It's based off of a real life story of Jamie Campbell, and Jamie New is already out as gay, and he's trying to tell people in his life that he wants to be a drag queen as a career. And so the film follows him figuring this out about himself and trying to kind of put that pathway into actually doing this professionally and dealing with being a gay kid and being a drag queen in Sheffield, in Parsons Cross. And there's like his reactions from his classmates and his relationship with his father, and the film follows him as he wants to go to prom in a way in which he feels the most like himself, and the kind of backlash that he gets from that.
And he has a best friend, and that best friend is a young Muslim girl, and that's the part you play, isn't it? Tell us about the part that you're playing in the film.
Yes, so Pretty Pasha is Jamie's best friend, and she's a hijabi Muslim girl, and she's very much, in a lot of ways, the complete polar opposite of Jamie. She's so sensible. She loves the maths and science. She's going to go to Cambridge and be a doctor. She's very much on the right track, knows exactly what she's doing. And Jamie is very creative and very artsy and very out there. But they just work. And that's what I love about their dynamic, is that they're from 2 completely different worlds, but they have this love for each other, and they just try so hard to understand each other, and I love them both together. Yes.
I'm interested to know a couple of questions. You personally, are there elements of you that identified with the character you were playing, or not? You're just completely different. So that's the first question, Lauren. And the second question is, did you end up having a similar bond to the actor playing Jamie, which was Max, wasn't it?
So in terms of Mia and Pretty similarities, in terms of education, she'd have all these maths and science books to read on set, and I would have no idea what any of those words meant. And sometimes Johnny would come over to me and be like, we can tell that you're not actually taking any of the information that you're reading in. So it's like, have to pretend to understand. So in that terms, no. But I think that throughout the film, we see her come out of her shell a lot. And I think that that's definitely something that I struggle with a lot. And so we definitely had that similarity. And I think we have quite similar, like, energy. A lot of people have told me that. Johnny's told me that before, that we have, like, very similar energy. And in terms of me and Max and Pretty and Jamie, we're, like, very close. Yeah. I think that we got to know each other before the film, and then during the film we lived in, like, flats next door to each other, and we were both in Sheffield for the entire shooting process. And Max hasn't done a film before, so we've both been on this kind of journey together, and I think that that's brought us very close together, and I cannot wait for everybody to see him in this film. He's so good. Yeah. Love Max.
And I'm guessing that you are still in touch with Max, and that bond has just continued.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I'm just going to press pause on this interview to bring you some very special news from our wonderful sponsors at Sussex and Surrey Gin Fest. And who better to bring the news but a legend of local radio, the First Lady of Sussex and star of Brighton Family Panto, the fabulous Alison Ferns. Hey, Alison.
Hello, it's Alison Ferns here from BBC Radio Sussex and BBC Radio Surrey. Join me as I host the UK's largest outdoor gin festivals in Sussex on the 10th of July and Surrey on the 11th of September. We've got a whole host of artisan gin distillers on site for you to discover, as well as gourmet food and first-class entertainment. Tickets are going fast, so make sure to book now at sussexginfest.com or surreyginfest.com. We look forward to sipping a gin and tonic or two with you this summer.
For actors and jobbing actors working in our business, they can go their entire careers without ever making a film. So they can, make a living and often a very good living from, doing things like theatre work, maybe even TV work. But, to crack the film industry is, it's pretty big, isn't it? So I would like to know, I have never made a film. I've done some TV in my time, and I've done lots and lots of theatre, but I've never made a film, Lauren. So I'm interested to know, you turn up on that first day of filming, what happens? Where did you go for a start? Did you go to a studio? Was it a location? What happens on that first day? I'd like you to talk us through what that first day is like.
Yeah, I think that obviously I was really, really lucky that I never fully, obviously you're very much thrown on the deep end when you get your first job in a feature film in 20 days. But the team tried so hard to make me feel like I knew. Like, they gave me a tour of the studio in advance. We had rehearsals way in advance. I got to know everybody before. But my first day on set was me, Max, and Richard E. Grant, and that was very scary. It's very daunting. But he was so lovely, and I obviously knew Max by this point quite well, so it was great to have a familiar face with it. And honestly, on that first day, I got there quite early, so I got to sit in my trailer and kind of calm myself down and wander around and watch the scene that they were filming beforehand on the monitors. So then by the time it got to me, I was like, okay, let's go. I'm ready now. Let's do this. And it was really lovely. It was like a nice, concise, not too complicated scene, not a lot of pressure on me. It was great. And every time I watch the film now, I'm like, oh, I see little wide-eyed Lauren Patel on her first day in the scene.
Do you know what I love about that answer, Lauren? I love the fact that you just so casually said, I got to sit in my trailer. You had a trailer, Lauren.
It was mad. I literally, I rocked up and I was like, excuse me, is this for me?
I just love that. That is the stuff of dreams, Lauren, isn't it? Let's be honest about it. And you mentioned then that you were working with some pretty heavy hitters like Richard E. Grant and Sarah Lancashire. What were they like, and how did they interact with you? How were they with you? Because they obviously knew that this was completely new and, this was your first acting job. What were they like with you, Lauren?
I never, that's the thing, obviously before going onto set and onto the job, I knew who they were and I knew that they were fantastic actors with brilliant bodies of work. But when I got to set, it never felt like I'm an experienced actor and you're not. It was we're making this together and it's really nice to meet you and let's have a chat about stuff that isn't to do with the film. Let's just chat. And so that was, and then after that, it felt like not a lot of pressure at all. And then obviously someone says action and they go and be brilliant and you're like, whoa, you are very good, obviously.
Would you say, in my career, I've worked with some very, very experienced actors and actors that have been a lot older than me. So they obviously have, by that very fact that they're older, they have a lot more experience. And I always say to people, and this is just my take on it, acting is, of course, a highly skilled endeavour or a highly skilled profession. But you have to have a bag of tricks. It's almost like, if you're an actor, over the course of time, you learn things. And I've probably learned more things from other actors than I have actually in any kind of training environment, just by watching other actors and what they do and what's in their bag of tricks. And I just wondered whether watching people like, Sarah Lancashire and Richard E. Grant, you picked up things from them. You saw them do things and thought, I'm going to remember that and I'm going to keep that in my catalogue of knowledge.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that there was, like I say, I was there for the whole 3 months. So there were a lot of times where I wasn't on the sets, but I was still at the studio. So I would just be watching everything that everybody did and just the amount of consistency. I had no idea how long it took to shoot a 5-10 minute scene, and they just absolutely hit it every single time, and so you can never pick a bad take of them because they're all fantastic.
The story has, in my opinion, some very important themes, and I just wondered, for you personally, what you took as being some of the key themes from the film and from the story.
I think that Pretty has a line in the trailer and in the film that she tells Jamie to stop waiting for permission to be him, and I think that that's a really lovely line. I feel like that captures the entirety of the film's message. Jamie just wants to live as himself, and there's so many people in his life telling him how he should do that and who he should be, and I hope that people watching, both people like Jamie and people like Margaret, and people who are, or people like Pretty, people who know LGBT people or love LGBT people, and kind of watch it and help them understand that just because they don't necessarily understand something when they first meet someone doesn't mean that they have to run in the opposite direction. If you love them, you can learn and you can understand and accept them for exactly who they are.
I couldn't agree with you more. I just wondered as well, and you've mentioned him several times, your dad, how, obviously he was very excited. His daughter's just got, one of the main parts in a major movie. Did he come up and did he come spend any time on the set and come and watch you?
Yeah, so he came up a lot and came up to see me and check that I wasn't dead because I was living on my own for the first time, check that I was eating my vegetables. And then they needed somebody to play Pretty's dad in the film. And so they asked me if my dad wanted to do it. And I was like, yes. So he got to come to set and he got his own trailer and he got to go on the makeup truck. And so it was such a great day because he got to see exactly what I'd been doing and got to see exactly what it was like. And then I told him you have no lines, you just have to say hello to me, give me a hug, and that's it. And then they put a mic pack on him and you just saw his face drop. He was so scared. It's really funny. But it was a wonderful day, and now I have me and my dad in a film.
Rewind. I've just got to take all this in. So your lovely dad, who has been very supportive in the whole process. He gets the call to say you've got the part. He's the one sending you the text. He's the one that's been, clearly ferrying you around, and transporting you here and there to do this. He then gets a part in the film with his own trailer and his own makeup artist. Wow. So I'm guessing when you start to do the pre-publicity for this film when it comes out, I can see your dad's going to be sitting on the couch with you on some of these programs like this morning, explaining that he's actually in the film playing your dad. It's fantastic. It's just such a wonderful, uplifting story. It's just so brilliant. And we all are so excited to see the film, and we really hope that
I'm so excited for everybody to see it, yeah.
Yeah, we hope that we get the release day soon. Now, the next section of this podcast, I'm going to tell you, I don't normally do this with my guests. I've got my own notes, Lauren, and I've got my own little structure to how I do this, and I don't normally reveal to the guest how I've broken up the interview. But I want to tell you, I've called this section Everybody's Talking About Lauren, the secret superstar. And I've done that because in the research that Jack and I have done, of course, we came across an article in You magazine where they referred to you as the secret superstar, with the most fabulous photograph of you in a blue dress.
Thank you.
I think modelling could be something that could be a little sideline as well, Lauren, having seen that photograph of you in the blue dress. But I just, on a more serious note, I just wanted to know how it feels, because this is a really unusual, very strange situation that you have shot a film, the film's in the can, everybody knows about it, the trailer is out, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of anticipation around the film coming out, and then COVID-19 happens. And life gets paused, work gets paused, our industry gets paused, and you have to sort of effectively stay in the shadows, stay in the wings until this film is released. So I just kind of want to know what has happened to you and what is happening to you while we're in this period of pause, if you like.
Yeah, I think that once we wrapped the film, a lot of the advice that I got from wonderful people in the industry was to just enjoy this time, this lovely middle period where you know that you've made it and you're really proud of it, but it's still just like ours and it's not out in the world. And that period of time has gone on for a lot longer than I had anticipated. So I'm kind of ready for people to see it now. But it has been kind of just really lovely to sit with it. I've, over quarantine, I've done classes and tried to kind of hone as much of my my skills as much as I can, and just kind of sit with it and make sure that I'm ready for whatever comes my way when the film comes out. And so yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing, and I'm very much ready for people to see it now. But it's definitely been lovely to have that time to, be proud of myself for filming the film, to see the film finished before everybody else gets to see it, and to, start doing lovely stuff like talking on podcasts and going for photo shoots and kind of get more comfortable with that side of it as well before everything kind of picks up really fast again.
So have you done any sort of promotional, interviews or shoots or, anything really to publicise the film yet? Or is that still to happen?
I've got stuff that's coming up. And so the only thing that I've done so far, if I'm remembering right, is that article in You magazine and that lovely photo shoot with David Rees, which I love. I'm very happy with how those pictures turned out. And this. So I'm very much just kind of planting my feet on the ground and starting to chat about the film, which also, again, is very lovely because I haven't really been able to talk about it for such a long time. So it's nice to kind of be able to tell these stories from set and stuff.
Well, we're very honoured, Lauren, that that you chose us and to talk about your story so far. And I'm just interested. I mean, at some point, and I would have thought it was going to happen at some point soon, given the current government roadmap and the hopeful opening up of our society again, that we are going to get a film release date for Everybody's Talking About Jamie. I mean, have you had any hints about when that might happen or not yet?
No, I just know that we worked so hard on it, and it's such like a theatrical film. There's so many great massive dance numbers that just need to be seen on the big screen, and I know that everybody just really wants to wait and make sure that when we see it, it's going to be in the best scenario.
Well, I'm hopeful that we'll get some news soon, because I'm a massive James Bond fan, and actually I've got the licence in the city where I'm based, Brighton and Hove. I've been awarded the licence to do the Bond premiere here.
Wow.
And of course, and you'll be invited, Lauren. Don't worry, you will be invited, and that's obviously taking place on the 30th of September. So they've released that date now, and obviously Bond is a massive film franchise. So I'm really hopeful that we get to we get to hear about this very, very, very soon.
It's great to see the bigger films setting release dates, because I know when we were like in October, when it was originally meant to come out, October 2020, and I just saw all of the other films being pushed back and was just waiting for the email that we were being pushed back as well. It's like, wow.
So beyond the film release, what are your plans, or are you just kind of in that situation where you're thinking, do you know what, I'm just gonna see what happens after this film comes out?
Literally, that is my plan. My plan is to take as many classes as I can now, and so if any wonderful opportunities come from this film, then I'm ready for them and I'm ready to go. That is my plan. My only plan is to hope that people enjoy the film and then take it from there.
Well, I'm going to give you something to plan for, because I just wanted to know, when the film comes out and all the craziness starts, Lauren, we just would love you to come back and almost kind of continue the story, because I think with your story that is going to be a massive chapter in terms of what happens next to Lauren Patel once this film comes out. So I would like to know, and I'm officially inviting you, whether you would come back and join me on the podcast once the film comes out.
I would love to. I think that's such a cool idea, to like have these little time capsules of like before and after the film. Yeah. I was thinking about this though, and I was like, oh my God, what if everybody hates me in the film and I have to come back on the podcast? I'd be like...
They won't. No, they won't. If the trailer is anything to go by, no, they're not going. That's not going to happen at all. And right, well, you're on. We definitely want you. We definitely want you back, and we want to know about how it's all going once the film comes out, and of course all those offers that you're going to get, Lauren, and accolades and awards, because I've got no doubt about it. It's going to be an exciting time, and we want to be a little part of that on Schmoozing podcast. Thank you so much for giving us that sort of, brilliant story. And I can't let you go just right at this moment, because I need you now to take part in our story, because we've been doing a feature on the show called Through the Green Door, where I started writing a story because I'm an avid reader, Lauren, and I love writing. So I've kicked off this story called The Green Door, which I've started it as a sort of whodunit crime thriller about this character called Henry, who inherits his father's estate, and that comes with an old manor house that has on the top floor a room with a green door that has been locked his entire lifetime, and he's not been allowed up there. And he finds the key, and of course he opens the green door, and our various celebrity guests have contributed. And unfortunately for you, although you have risen to the challenge, Our guest before you was, of course, the global superstar author Peter James, who's having a very exciting time at the moment because his Roy Grace character is just about to hit the screens.
Wow.
On ITV, and he's given us the next part of the story, which you are then going to continue from. So what I'm going to do, which I always do on the podcast, is I'm going to read Peter's section of the story, and then I'm going to ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to channel your inner actress again and give me your contribution to the story. I'm going to cue you in with Peter James's contribution and then hand straight over to you. So are you ready? Henry woke up with a start, feeling that slow spread of relief you get in the middle of the night when you surface from a nightmare and realise you are okay. You are fine. He lay, his heart feeling like he had a freaked-out caged bird thrashing around inside his chest. Jesus. Just a weird dream. Green. His mother, who was deeply superstitious, never wore green. Green was an unlucky colour for a lot of people, she'd said. And as for buying a green car, well, she wouldn't even go in one. But dreams tell you things. Unresolved issues in your life. Was that his imagination going rampant? Was it his dead father trying to give him a warning from beyond the grave? He reached out for the light switch on the wall above the bed, but to his surprise it wasn't there. He put his hand out towards the bedside table for his phone, but there was no table. He smelled something pungent, putrid. Panicking, he tried to get out of bed, but then realised he wasn't in bed. He was lying on the floor, and now, to his horror, he realised it hadn't been a dream at all. He actually was in that room, behind the green door.
This was a bad idea. Henry sat up sharply and took in his surroundings. The room was silent, not just quiet, dead, as if all of the air had been sucked out of it. It was pitch black apart from the small sliver of light from the hallway creeping through under the green door opposite him. Just go back downstairs, he said to himself. It's the stress of today. People hallucinate under stress. It's fine. You're fine. He placed a shaky hand on the doorknob and took one last moment to steady himself before being bombarded by sobs, stories, and pitiful glances. It's locked. He roots around in his pocket for the key, but it's gone.
Lauren Patel is not just a future movie star, she's an incredible writer too. Is there anything you can't do, Lauren?
I had to rewrite that 4 times, so I kept mixing up past, present and future tense. I'm just glad it was coherent.
It's pretty brilliant. It's absolutely great. Thank you so much. Lauren, you've been an absolute delight to have on the show today. And we wish you all the best with what's about to happen for our secret superstar, Lauren Patel. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you so much.
Thank you once again to the fabulous Lauren Patel. And we're already very excited about having Lauren back on the podcast once the film is released. I'm sure she's going to have an amazing time. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to rate, review, and of course subscribe. And if you want to stay in touch with all things schmoozing, then you can find us across all social channels at David Hill Official. Next week, I'm joined by another young artist, the fabulous Coco Brown, who is an actress, writer, producer, playwright. So please don't forget to tune in. Until then, stay safe, stay positive, and stay with me for more schmoozing next week.